The words hit harder than a punch. She's been seeing someone else. Jess hummed low through the speakers at the Blue Pearl Lounge. Glasses clinked around us, couples laughed softly, but at our table, the world had gone silent. Across from me, Tyler Evans leaned back in his seat, smirking like a man who'd already gotten away with something. And maybe he had. Maybe this was his victory lap. I didn't know whether to break his nose or thank him for being honest. I did neither. I stared straight into his eyes and said calmly, "Thanks for the honesty. She's all yours now." He blinked. That he hadn't expected. He'd come for drama, for an explosion. But my calm? That rattled him. Both of us, really. That's when I heard them. The red heels. Sharp against the marble floor like warning shots. Emma Carter, my wife, stepped out of the restroom just in time to hear my last words. Her crimson dress still flowed like it hadn't gotten the memo we were at war. She froze mid-step. Gone was the confident smile she wore like armor. All that was left was that blank shock people get when the puppet strings tangle. She snapped her fingers in front of my face. "Jack? What the hell does that mean?" "That's me. Jack Carter, 39. Architect. Until about 20 minutes ago, loyal husband." I didn't flinch. I watched her. Watched her eyes. I wanted to see if there was guilt, fear, anything human. Nope. Just irritation. Like I'd spilled wine on her favorite dress. "So now you're the victim?" she hissed, jabbing a finger at Tyler like he was a lamp. "You followed me here? Are you crazy?" I laughed, standing up. "You used my credit card to book this table, genius." People were watching now, but I didn't care. Let them see. Let it all burn. This hadn't started tonight. It had been simmering for months. Maybe longer. Emma Carter. She used to wear my old college sweatshirt and watch horror movies under a blanket with me on rainy Sundays. That version of her vanished last fall. What remained was colder, sharper. Like someone had replaced her with a louder, shinier model with no warmth underneath. I blamed myself at first. Work stress, lack of quality time. Anything but the truth. Until I noticed the signs. The makeup she never wore before. The weird hours. The fancy lingerie I never saw on her. And then the receipts. But the worst part? That empty look in her eyes each morning. Like I was background noise. At the table, she laughed awkwardly, trying to pretend it was nothing. "Jack, don't be ridiculous." "Tyler? He's just a fling. It didn't mean anything." Tyler scoffed. "You told me you loved me." Emma spun on him like a fireball. "Shut up, Tyler. You promised." And that was it. The final piece. I turned to her. "You told him you loved him," I said slowly, like I was reading a death certificate. She stammered. "No, I didn't mean it. You've been distant, Jack. You barely look at me. What was I supposed to do?" That cut deeper than anything else. But I kept my face still. I looked at Tyler. "Take her. She's yours now. I'm done." Emma stepped forward, mask cracking. "You think you can just toss me aside like this is some movie? You think you're the hero?" "No," I said. "I think I finally woke up." And I walked out. There's a strange silence that comes after a public meltdown. Not peace. More like static. A constant hum under your skin. That's what I felt walking away from the lounge that night. My heart wasn't racing. It was calm. Too calm. Like I'd skipped heartbreak and gone straight into survival mode. I didn't go home. I drove to my brother Mike's place. He'd always said, "If you ever need to disappear, my couch doesn't ask questions." I didn't even call first. Just knocked. He opened the door in gym shorts, half a sandwich in hand, saw my face once, and stepped aside. 2 hours later, I was in his guest room, the buzz of his old mini fridge the only sound. My phone lit up. 2 missed calls from Emma. One from an unknown number. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I opened my laptop. I didn't plan to. But something inside me needed to know if tonight was just a bad dream, or the tip of something far worse. In my inbox, 3 emails. All from the same sender, anonymous.tips. No subject, no greeting, just digital bombs. The first email had photos. Blurry, grainy, clearly taken with a phone, but no mistaking what they showed. Emma, leaning against the hood of our car, the black sedan we bought together, parked right in our driveway. Timestamped, 1:13 a.m. Same red dress. But the man behind her wasn't Tyler Evans. Different build, different tattoos. Someone else entirely. I didn't gasp. I didn't rage. I already knew. But seeing it, making it real, was like a punch to the lungs. The second email was worse. A video. Shaky, probably shot through a fence or from behind a curtain. Muffled voices. Laughter. Moans. I didn't press play. I didn't need to. The third email, that one gutted me. An attached Word doc. No title. Just a list. Dates. times, locations, names. Some I didn't recognize. But a few I knew well. One was a guy from my firm. Another Charles Dinslow, my boss. My mentor. My fingers froze on the trackpad. At the bottom of the list, one sentence. She doesn't care about you. Figured you should know. I stared at that line for a long time. Rage, shame, disbelief, all storming inside me. This wasn't just betrayal. This was demolition. Emma hadn't just cheated. She'd salted the earth, set fire to everything we'd built, and danced in the ashes. I stood up too fast, chair scraping across the hardwood. Almost tripped over my bag. My legs were trembling, not from sadness, from pressure. Like a dam about to break. A soft knock came at the door. Mike's voice. "You good, bro?" I didn't answer right away. Just opened the door. He took one look at me and said, "It's about her, isn't it?" I nodded. "How bad?" "Worse than we thought." He stepped inside and sat beside me. I showed him the laptop. He didn't flinch. Mike had seen things. 2 tours overseas. He could smell danger from someone's posture. He closed the laptop gently. "What are you going to do?" I didn't have an answer. Not yet. But I had clarity. I'm not letting her spin this. The next morning, I woke before sunrise. Didn't matter that I hadn't really slept. The names on that list kept flashing through my mind. Emma didn't just cheat. She built a web so wide it touched every corner of my life. Marriage, work, sanity. I needed a pro. So I called Paul Harris, a divorce lawyer a friend once swore by. Said he was cold, calm, and relentless. His office was in a quiet brick building downtown, tucked between a bakery and a clock shop. Exactly the kind of place you'd go to detonate a life without drawing too much attention. Paul didn't interrupt once as I laid it all out. The emails, the list, the lies. I handed him a flash drive with everything. When I finished, he steepled his fingers under his chin. "Well," he said, voice low, "you're not the first man to walk in here with evidence. But this is solid. Do I have a shot?" I asked. Paul gave a dry smile. "You don't have a shot, Jack. You've got a sledgehammer." We filed for divorce that same afternoon. Grounds: multiple documented acts of adultery. We also requested a temporary hold on any spousal support until the court hearing. I wasn't about to fund her lifestyle while she played house with strangers. That night, Emma didn't call, didn't text, nothing. 2 days later, my phone lit up. "Emma Carter." I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Her tone? Cold. Measured. Like we were negotiating a business deal. "Jack, I saw the papers. Very mature of you. You could have spoken to me before dragging lawyers into this. I'll be at the hearing. Don't think this ends in your favor." Click. Classic Emma. Control disguised as calm. The day of the hearing came fast. I didn't think she'd show. I figured she'd send her lawyer, delay it, disappear. But no. She walked in 10 minutes late, like it was a fashion show. Black dress. High heels. Giant sunglasses. Not a flicker of shame. No Tyler. No Ryan. No one. Just her and that fake air of grace. She waved at me. Actually waved. Paul leaned over and whispered, "She thinks this is theater. She's always been a good actress," I muttered back. The judge called us up. Older woman. Silver hair. Eyes like razors. Paul presented our case calmly. Photos. Screenshots. Dates. Locations. Emma's lawyer, Clara James, smiles and heals. Tried a different approach. Emotional neglect. Loneliness. Cries for help. Not betrayal. I didn't flinch. Instead, I handed the judge another flash drive. Categorized. Timestamped. Clear. Paul spoke again. "Your Honor, these files document repeated, intentional acts of infidelity, including with colleagues and direct superiors." Clara objected, "Unverified material." The judge leaned forward. "Mrs. Carter, do you deny these are your photos and communications with multiple individuals while still married?" Silence. The judge asked again. Finally, Emma looked up and murmured, "I don't see how that's relevant to property division." And I knew right then. No remorse. No guilt. Just fear. The judge scribbled something on her notepad. "We'll proceed with the motion. Spousal support is temporarily suspended. Full discovery ordered." I stood up to leave. As I passed her, she grabbed my arm. "You think humiliating me fixes anything?" she hissed. I looked her dead in the eyes. "No. But watching you lose everything? Maybe." And I walked out. 3 days after the hearing, I drove back to the house. Technically, it was still mine. Emma never paid a dime on the mortgage, though she used to love saying things like, "I contribute in other ways." Now, I had a pretty clear picture of what those other ways were. I didn't go there to fight. I just wanted to pack my things, see what was left of the life we built, maybe salvage a little piece. What I found was chaos. Wine bottles cluttered the counter. A candle burned in the corner like the place didn't realize the marriage had already gone up in flames. A bra was hanging from the banister. Her perfume, sweet, floral, expensive, still lingered in the air like regret. She'd taken the good TV, the silverware, a few of my vinyls, not because she needed them, but because she knew I loved them, spied in the shape of nostalgia. But what she hadn't taken was a shoebox I'd hidden years ago under a loose floorboard in the closet. I'd forgotten all about it until I stepped in the right spot and heard the familiar creak. Inside the box was an old burner phone, cheap, plastic, dusty. I'd used it on a job site in Detroit to keep personal calls separate from work. Never threw it out, just stashed it away. On a whim, I charged it. A few minutes later, it lit up. 23 unread messages. All from the same number. The name saved in the phone, T. I didn't recognize it, but the first message hit like a sucker punch. Missed your mouth today, Angel. The next, still thinking about Saturday. You were wild. Send a pic. Then, free this weekend? Told the wife I'm at a conference. Let's shake the walls again. I sat down stunned. This wasn't Tyler. This wasn't Ryan. This was someone else. Another name. Another secret. And this time, Emma was the other woman. I kept reading. Screenshots. Selfies. Voice notes, her whispering things I didn't want to hear, moaning names I didn't recognize. But one message stood out more than the rest. Jack's getting suspicious. I think I'll pick a fight and go to my cousin's this weekend. That gives us 3 nights. Bring the good wine. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. Smash it. But I didn't. Instead, I took screenshots. Saved every message. Sent them to myself. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was evidence. And I needed to know who T was. So I called Mike. He picked up on the first ring. I found something, I said. How bad? He asked. Worse. I need your help. Tech stuff. Tracking a number. Bring it. Mike had done things overseas most people only see in spy movies. He had friends who could find anyone with just a number and a name. That night, we were holed up in his garage, laptops open, wires everywhere, running the phone through every search tool available. 20 minutes later, he looked up. His name's Ryan Spencer. Owns a gym franchise across the city. Married. 2 kids. He pulled up Ryan's Instagram. There he was, posing with his wife, coaching little kids, looking like a wholesome dad with nothing to hide. I clenched my jaw. Emma slept with a married dad? Mike nodded. All signs point to it. I didn't say anything for a while. Just stared at Ryan's smiling face. A man with everything to lose. And I held the match. The next morning, I messaged him from a new number. No threats. Just straight to the point. I know about you and Emma Carter. We need to talk quietly before your wife finds out the hard way. No reply. For hours, nothing. Then finally, one word. Where? We agreed to meet the next night. Neutral ground. An abandoned parking lot on the edge of the city. One of those places where people settle scores or dump secrets. Ryan arrived 10 minutes late in a glossy black Range Rover. Flashy. Predictable. He stepped out like he was heading to a board meeting. Slick hair. Gold wedding ring still on his finger. Calm. Controlled. And for a second, I wondered if he even felt guilt, or if cheating was just another thing he scheduled between workouts and meetings. You Jack Carter? He asked, though he already knew. I nodded. Then he said it, no hesitation. Your wife's something else, man. We hooked up more times than I can count. She showed me sides of her you'll never see. Same words Tyler had thrown at me that night at the lounge. Only this time, they didn't hurt. I didn't flinch. I met his eyes and said, thanks for the honesty. She's all yours now. But Ryan didn't grin. Not this time. His face shifted, something between discomfort and shame. Then came the sound. Heels. Sharp. Fast. Echoing through the garage. Red heels. Emma. Wearing the same red dress from that night. Emma stepped out of the stairwell like a ghost from a bad dream. Same red dress. Same heels. Same air of confidence, until she saw me standing beside Ryan. Her eyes widened. Shock. Panic. Betrayal. Maybe, but not toward me. Toward him. She wasn't supposed to see us together. Definitely not here. Ryan. Her voice cracked like a windshield hit by a rock. What are you doing? He didn't look at her right away. He just stood still, phone clenched in his hand. I spoke first. This, I said, pointing between the two of them, this is closure. Emma laughed, short and brittle. What is this, Jack? A therapy session in a parking garage? I didn't invite him, I said, tilting my head toward Ryan. He came on his own. Seems like he had some questions. Emma turned on him fast. Why would you come here? I told you to stay out of it. Ryan's jaw tightened. You told me you were getting divorced. You said I was the only one. Emma's face went pale. Ryan pulled up his phone and showed her the screen. You said that, Emma. More than once. She stumbled. Her lips parted, but no words came. Ryan stepped closer. You played me. You lied. You said there was no one else. Emma looked like she might break into pieces. Then, like always, she pivoted. Turned to me. You don't get to judge me, Jack. You shut me out for months. You buried yourself in work and treated me like a roommate. What was I supposed to do? I took a step forward, my voice low. Steady. Tyler was just the warm-up. Ryan was the main course. And the others? My coworker? My boss? The Uber driver? Dessert. Her eyes flared. You think you're better than me? You're not. You left me alone. Enough, Ryan said, raising a hand. You used both of us. And then, another voice rang out, cold, sharp, and cutting through the night like glass. She used all of us. We turned. A woman stepped out from the shadows near the stairwell. Blonde. Short. Eyes like ice. She held up her phone, recording. Hannah. Emma's voice dropped an octave. Wait, Rachel. I can explain. The woman didn't flinch. It's Hannah, actually. She walked right up to Emma, calm as a storm just before the lightning hits. I followed him. I read the messages. I saw your name. Your face. Emma stumbled backward. And then a crack. The slap echoed off the concrete. Emma staggered, her hand flying to her cheek. Stay away from my family, Hannah hissed. You're not just a cheater. You're a parasite. Emma blinked through the sting, already trying to compose herself. You think I chased him? He chased me. Shut up, I snapped, stepping between them. You've done enough. Hannah looked at me, her eyes still burning. I'm pressing charges. I nodded. Good. I'll testify. Ryan stood frozen, gutted. Hannah turned without another word and walked back to her car. Emma finally looked at me, voice barely a whisper. Jack, please. Don't let this get worse. I stared into her. No warmth, no rage. Just steel. You don't speak anymore, Emma, I said. You lie. And I walked away. That night, I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emma's face, first smug, then scared, and finally cornered. That last look haunted me, not because it showed regret, but because for once it showed fear, not of what she'd done, of what she'd lost. And that gave me an idea. I opened my laptop. Inside the original anonymous email, the one with the Word doc, there was a Dropbox link I hadn't dared open. Until now. Hundreds of files. Screenshots. Videos. Audio clips. Each folder labeled by date, name, and location. One caught my eye. Royal Crest Hotel, room 419. I didn't need to open the video. The name alone was enough. Instead, I downloaded everything. Then I reached out to someone I hadn't spoken to in years, David Reed. He ran a massive YouTube channel now, Truth Unfiltered. Exposed cheaters, fake gurus, corrupt CEOs. His motto? We don't cancel. We reveal. I sent him a message. I've got a real story. Names, dates, recordings. 5 lives wrecked. Keep my name private. Everything else is yours. He replied in 5 minutes. Call me. We talked for 2 hours. I told him everything. The lounge. The burner phone. The court. The parking lot. At first, he thought I was exaggerating. Then I sent him the Dropbox link. 15 minutes of silence. Then he said, Jack, this is insane. Are you absolutely sure? I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. I'm done hiding. All right, he said. Let's blow this up. We scheduled the upload for the following Friday. David needed time to blur faces, cover names, avoid lawsuits. But he promised me something before we hung up. This story's going to explode. And that's exactly what I needed. Because Emma still thought she could win. She'd already filed a countersuit, asking for spousal support. $5,000 a month. She claimed I abandoned her emotionally, that I ruined her reputation. When Paul read the court papers, he nearly choked on his coffee. She really thinks she can burn your house down and then bill you for the matches. I stared out the window. She still thinks she's untouchable. Paul grinned. Then it's time we take that fantasy and shatter it. Paul filed a motion the same day Emma's countersuit hit my inbox. Not just to deny her alimony, but to include all the new evidence. The burner phone, the list of names, the screenshots, the messages to Ryan, everything. He also added a request for a restraining order and a clause barring her from accessing any of my property moving forward. It wasn't just about divorce anymore. It was war. 2 days later, she was served. And like clockwork, she retaliated. Emma showed up outside my office at 10:14 a.m. screaming, crying. Dressed like a broken-hearted wife from a soap opera, messy hair, oversized sweater, mascara smudged just enough to look accidental. I watched it all from the third floor. My assistant recorded it from her phone without me even asking. Emma shouted about betrayal, about lies, about how I had manipulated her and weaponized the internet to ruin her life. She threw around words like abuse and gaslighting, words she'd once scoffed at. Security escorted her off the premises in under 5 minutes. That same night, David posted the video. Title: The Woman Who Played 5 Men and Got Caught on Camera. It opened with footage from room 419. Emma, laughing, pouring wine, whispering that I was too dumb to figure it out. It cut to her texts, her voice notes, the footage from the parking lot confrontation, and finally, her shouting outside my office. David blurred faces, masked identities. But the story was clear. The internet exploded. Within 12 hours, it had over 2 million views. By morning, Emma's Instagram was locked. By evening, it was gone. The next day, Hannah, Ryan's wife, posted a TikTok confirming the story. That hit 4 million views by the end of the night. Emma hadn't just been exposed. She'd been erased. I didn't celebrate. I didn't post a single word. But I breathed. For the first time in weeks, I could exhale without pain. Still, I knew this wasn't over. Emma wasn't done. And I was right. Because a week later, a letter appeared on my desk. No email. No call. A pink envelope with my name written in her careful, curly handwriting. Inside was a single handwritten note. If you think your little YouTube stunt was clever, think again. You forget I know things about your business, your partners, your finances. Keep pushing, Jack, and you'll regret it. You want to destroy me? I'll make sure you can't rebuild. Ever. No apology. No explanation. Just perfume and threat. I took the letter straight to Paul. He read it twice. Then he looked up, all professionalism gone. She's threatening to leak confidential information? She knows about the Strathmore contract, I said quietly. Paul tapped the letter against his palm. Then she just gave us everything we need. We filed for an emergency hearing. New motion, harassment, intimidation, attempted defamation. We included the letter, the office meltdown, and her history of digital manipulation. We also requested an updated restraining order and a business confidentiality injunction to prevent her from mentioning anything related to my work, even in private. Emma was spiraling. That same night, she visited my mom. Unannounced. Tears. Lies. Full emotional performance. Said I ruined her because she couldn't give me a child. Claimed I trapped her, used her, and threw her away. My mom called me, voice shaking. She showed up here sobbing. Jack, I didn't believe her. But she's acting, I said. She always is. My mom paused. Then, softly, she's coming undone. I nodded. And it's time to finish this. That night, I called David again. Can we do a second video? His voice lit up. This time, let's go bigger. We didn't want just another expose. This time, it would be personal. David suggested an interview. Face blurred, voice distorted, full anonymity. Just me and the camera. My side, told clearly, without edits. I agreed without hesitation. We filmed that weekend. A blacked-out studio, 2 chairs, a single light. I spoke for 3 hours. I told everything. The emails, the burner phone, the affair web, the hearing, the parking lot, Hannah's slap, the threats, even the visit to my mother. David didn't interrupt, just listened, absorbing every detail like he already knew the internet would devour it. When we finished, he leaned forward and shook my hand. This isn't just a story, Jack. It's a warning. The video dropped on a Sunday night. Title: The Aftermath. What she did next will leave you speechless. By Monday morning, it had passed 3 million views. By noon, it hit 5. This time, the backlash was immediate, and not just online. Even people who had defended Emma after the first video now turned against her. No more, maybe he deserved it, comments. No more, we don't know the full story. They knew now. They saw it play out. Heard the pain in my distorted voice. Felt the tension in every word. The silence from Emma was deafening. No rebuttal. No statement. No social media. It was like she vanished. Until the next court date. She arrived looking like a completely different person. No makeup. Black suit. Hair pulled into a severe bun. Oversized sunglasses. She didn't say a word, didn't look in my direction. She was playing a new role now, the broken woman. Her lawyer had changed strategy. Gone was the empowered wife defense. Now it was all about trauma. They claimed she had been emotionally abused by online harassment, that the viral videos had irreparably damaged her mental health, and that the court should consider her fragile condition when ruling on the division of assets. It would have been laughable if it weren't so calculated. But the judge had seen everything. Paul handed over the pink letter, the one with the veiled threats. Then he queued up the video of her screaming outside my office. And then, in front of a packed courtroom, the judge read from the letter out loud. "Keep pushing, Jack, and you'll regret it." She looked directly at Emma. "Mrs. Carter, did you write this?" Silence. "Answer the question." A whisper. "Yes." That was the moment. Right there. The judge ruled immediately. Restraining order granted. Alimony denied. Defamation claim dismissed. The divorce was finalized that day. When I stood to leave, Emma didn't lift her head. I paused anyway, looked at her one last time, and for the first time in months, I felt nothing. No pain, no anger, no regret, just air, free, clear, cold air. I walked out of that courtroom and never looked back. 3 weeks later, I barely recognized myself in the mirror, not because of the gray hairs or the lines around my eyes, but because, for the first time in years, I looked like me again. No secrets, no second-guessing. No one lied to my face while pretending to love me. I didn't hear from Emma again. According to Mike, she moved out of state. Rumor had it she was applying for jobs under a different name. None of her family ever reached out. No apologies. No explanations. Good. Because if she ever did call again, I wouldn't pick up. I'd crossed the line between fury and peace, and I had no interest in going back. But don't get me wrong. It didn't happen overnight, and it wasn't clean. The first nights after the final hearing were still hard. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every red flag I ignored, every excuse I made, every time I chose hope over evidence. I wasn't just angry at her. I was furious with myself. I kept asking myself the same question. How did I let it get this far? The answer wasn't easy. It wasn't simple. And it sure as hell wasn't pretty. Because deep down, I knew the truth. Emma didn't change overnight. She didn't go from sweet to vicious in one season. She peeled the mask off slowly, inch by inch. And I watched it happen. I watched it happen and convinced myself it was normal. That this was just marriage. That stress does this to people. That it was a phase. But it wasn't. It was a reveal. She didn't become someone new. She just stopped pretending to be someone else. And I let it slide. I forgave too quickly. Ignored too often. Laughed off red flags like they were quirks. Because that's what loyalty does to you when you give it to the wrong person. It turns you blind. And when everything fell apart, I wasn't even angry about the cheating, not first. I was angry about the performance. About the effort she put into building a life around lies. About how easy it was for her to smile while stabbing me in the back. I kept replaying that parking lot moment, when Ryan looked me in the eye and said, "Your wife's something else." I hated him for it then. But now? Now I realize he did me a favor. He told me the truth. Blunt, cruel, unfiltered, but true. Because a part of me still believed there was something left to fix. That maybe, with time, we could figure it out. That we'd just grown apart or lost the spark. But the truth? There was nothing left. Emma wasn't broken. She was practiced. What she did wasn't accidental. It was crafted. And the moment I saw her in that red dress, lying through her teeth while juggling 3 men and a lawyer, I knew. She'd been doing this for years. All I'd done was finally open my eyes. And when I said, "She's all yours," I meant it. Because the Emma I married, the one who wore my old hoodie and danced barefoot in the kitchen, she was long gone. Maybe she never existed at all. Maybe I just loved the version of her she let me see. The one who made me believe in something that wasn't real. And what was left behind? A shadow in heels with a smile full of venom. But I survived her. And more than that, I rebuilt. David's video passed 20 million views within a month. People started recognizing my voice, even through distortion. But no one cared about the face. The story was what mattered. And I didn't tell it for revenge, or sympathy, or even closure. I told it because people like me, quiet, loyal, rational men, get told to stay silent, to suck it up, to man up. Not anymore. After the second video went viral, my inbox exploded. Messages from men, from women, teenagers, grandparents, all saying the same thing. "Thank you." One guy wrote, "I thought I was the only one. You helped me walk away." A woman messaged, "You made me see what I've been ignoring for years." But the one that hit hardest? A 17-year-old boy. Now I know what to avoid. That one stopped me cold. Because maybe if someone had told me this at 17, I wouldn't have ended up where I did. But pain's funny like that. It only wins if you hide it. So I put mine on display. Not for clout, but for the next guy who's staring at red flags wrapped in perfume. The guy who thinks silence is strength. And maybe, just maybe, he'll walk away before the fire reaches the foundation. Life after the storm didn't look like I expected. There were no fireworks. No sudden bursts of happiness. No instant transformation. Just quiet. But not the tense kind, the kind I used to feel when Emma would go silent on me for days, her eyes locked on her phone, pretending to scroll recipes while texting someone else. Not that kind. This quiet was clean, still, peaceful. I woke up in a house I chose, slept in a bed no one else had touched, worked without wondering if my phone would buzz with another anonymous tip or late-night voicemail. I stopped jumping at every sound, stopped replaying arguments in my head, stopped waiting for the apology that was never coming. Instead, I went back to the basics. I started cooking for myself again. Real food, not just delivery. I visited my brother Mike more often. We played poker, grilled burgers, argued about old sports scores. It felt like stepping back into a version of me that had been paused for years. I called up friends I hadn't seen since college, people I lost chasing a life that turned out to be hollow. And slowly, I started remembering who I was before Emma, and more importantly, who I wanted to be after her. The final chapter of the divorce was closed, but the aftershocks still came. Paul called to say Emma's team filed one last appeal, trying to reopen the alimony discussion under mental distress. The judge denied it in less than 10 minutes. Then came word that Emma tried to delete her name from the YouTube videos. David had received a cease and desist letter, claimed the content was defamatory. He laughed and forwarded it to his legal team. They responded with screenshots, video transcripts, and a legal memo that read like a brick to the face. The videos stayed up, and with each passing week, the views kept climbing. Eventually, Emma disappeared from the internet completely, gone, like she never existed. But I knew better. I knew she was somewhere, probably in another state, with another name, weaving another story. And that wasn't my concern anymore, because I had something she never could fake: stillness. I didn't have to second-guess every smile, didn't have to check behind locked doors, didn't have to track credit cards or Wi-Fi locations or whispers behind my back. I just lived. I even started laughing again. Real laughs. Not those strained chuckles I used to give Emma when she made fun of my taste in music or dismissed my work deadlines. These laughs were raw, honest. They came from deep down, where truth lives. And for the first time in a long time, I started wondering if I could love again. Not today, not tomorrow, but maybe, eventually. And if I ever do, I'll love differently. I'll watch for character, not charm. I'll value peace over passion. And I'll never confuse manipulation with romance again. Because now I know what the real red flags look like. They don't come screaming. They come quiet, dressed in laughter, drenched in perfume, with a smile that feels just real enough to believe. And if someone reading this is caught in that web, if you're doubting your gut because they keep telling you it's all in your head, let me be the one to say it out loud. It's not. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. You're not broken. You're just waking up. And once you do, once you finally say, enough, you'll realize what I did. You don't need them to admit it. You don't need closure. You just need distance. You need air. And eventually, you'll breathe again. Some people think healing comes with a sunrise, that one day you wake up, stretch, and everything feels better. It doesn't. Healing isn't a sunrise. It's a dimmer switch. Slow, barely noticeable, until one day you realize you're no longer sitting in the dark. That day came for me on a Tuesday. I was shaving. Just a normal morning. The radio played something soft, the kind of tune you'd hear in a coffee shop. I looked up into the mirror, and for a second, I didn't recognize myself. Not because of the gray streaks in my beard or the subtle lines around my eyes, but because I looked calm. I looked whole. No more bags under my eyes from sleepless nights. No more tension in my jaw. Just me, present, alive. And I smiled. A real one. No one was watching. There was no audience. No one to impress. But I smiled anyway, because I made it. Not without scars. Not without setbacks. But I made it. I thought about Emma sometimes, not the betrayal, not the chaos, but the early days. The soft beginnings. Before the mask slipped, and I didn't miss her. Not anymore. I missed who I thought she was. That's the thing no one tells you. You don't mourn the person. You mourn the idea. The version you loved. The version they performed. And when that illusion dies, it hurts like the real thing. But it's also freeing. Because once you bury that version, you stop trying to bring it back. You stop begging ghosts to stay. Emma's gone. Somewhere. Probably charming someone new. Telling them half-truths dressed as vulnerability. Playing the same script with a new lead. Let her. Because that's no longer my problem. That's someone else's warning sign now. And me? I live simply. I work. I rest. I read. I find joy in small things, coffee brewed just right, the smell of rain on concrete, my brother's terrible barbecue playlists. I don't check shadows anymore. I don't wonder what's happening behind my back. There's nothing back there. Only peace. David's videos eventually crossed 25 million views. He offered to do a third interview, said audiences were asking for updates. I told him maybe one day. But for now, silence suits me. I tell my story only when it helps someone else. And if you've made it this far, if you've followed every twist, every breakdown, every hard truth, let me leave you with this. I didn't share all of this for pity. I didn't share it for revenge. I shared it because someone, somewhere, needed to hear it. Maybe that someone is you. Maybe you're living in doubt, being gaslit while you hold everything together. Maybe you're holding on to something that's already let go of you. And maybe, just maybe, this story gave you the clarity I had to fight for. If so, remember this. You don't need their permission to walk away. You don't need the smoking gun. You already know. And knowing is enough. Let them go. Not because they're undeserving, but because you are. You deserve quiet mornings. You deserve truth without conditions. You deserve love without manipulation. You deserve to breathe without checking if someone else approves. So breathe, live, and if the fire comes again, let it burn the illusion, not you. Because the real you, the free you, is waiting on the other side of that door. Just like I was. And I promise you this. There's life after lies. And it's so damn good.